What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ethan Moore, aka Aviation Daily, coming at you today with a model airport update of my model of Vancouver International. Today we're just starting off over by the regional terminal, and we've just got a little Air Canada Express operated by Air Canada Jazz Q400-8 just attached up to the gate there. He's going to be heading over to Kelowna later today, but I really like the Air Canada new livery Q400s. They make a really great addition to the Vancouver International Airport, no question. I mean, you see them all the time in real life. You can't go plane spotting without running into a Q400 or a CRJ. But just beside him, we've got a WestJet 737-700. This guy is in the older livery. This is the NG model. He is just hanging out by a pair of Air Canada air stairs because, as I said at the beginning of the video, the only aircraft that are at the terminal today are aircraft that are operated by Air Canada and fly into YVR. But he is going to be heading over to Calgary after he gets off the stand. So just over here we have our Air Canada A321. This guy's going to be heading over to Toronto later today, and he's the first of the Air Canada fleet. I really like the A321. I think it's a really cool looking narrow body aircraft, and it's really cool to see in the Air Canada livery. Just sitting above the 737 and the A321 here, we have got our really neat little 737 MAX. This guy is just parked beside the A321 here. He is just loading up with passengers today, and then it's scheduled to depart to Halifax. Beside the 737, we start to get into our Air Canada wide bodies, but we also have some regional jets sprinkled out in there for you. We also are going to start off on quite an interesting note, I must say, with the Trans-Canada Airlines Airbus A319. This guy is a really neat addition to any Canadian airport, but I really like the old vintage Trans-Canada Airlines livery, both on this A319 and on the DC-3 it was originally painted on. But yeah, this guy is just loading up with passengers today, and it is scheduled to fly off to Edmonton. We're starting small here with the Air Canada Express CRJ 705, also known as the Mitsubishi CRJ 900. This guy is loading up with passengers, and he's going to be flying off to Saskatoon today. But starting off way in the back, we have the Air Canada 777-300ER. This guy is in the toothpaste livery, and he's just on the stand here. This is actually a flight to London, and it's just arrived from London, and it's going to be headed over to Toronto later tonight beside the Air Canada 777. We have another really interesting aircraft. This guy is our Air Canada 787-9 Dreamliner. This guy's in the new Air Canada livery. And, well, hypothetically, we're going to say that this 789 has come in today from Montreal and is going to be headed out to Halifax tomorrow. I thought I'd just take a minute and run through the front lineup at the airport we have today. So we're starting off with the WestJet 737-800. This guy is headed over to Winnipeg. Behind him, we have a Flair 737 MAX 8. This guy is just going to be headed over to Windsor. Behind the Windsor-bound MAX, we have an Aeroflyer 737-600. This guy is headed over to Kelowna. And then we have a KC-135 all the way in the back there. So at the very end here we have the United 737-8 MAX. This is in the Together United livery. This guy is going to be heading over to San Francisco later today. And as we start to head down here, you'll notice the aircraft are starting to get a lot older. We have our Pan American 707. Now this guy did in fact fly into YVR at one point. It was the demonstration Pan American Boeing 707. And it would have flown here in the early 50s for the Vancouver Air Show. But incredible history. The 707 would end up, or a 707 specifically, flown by Canadian Pacific, would end up actually crashing into the South Terminal, creating a bit of a mess in the 1960s. Just beside the 707 we have another historical aircraft, not the A220, rather the Canadian Pacific Bristol Britannia. This guy, which some of you may know as the Argus, is a mainstay at YVR in the 1950s, and believe it or not, would have flown all the way over to Australia in some cases, which is appropriate given right above him we have an Air Canada 777-200LR. This guy is just arriving from Sydney. And finally, our last Air Canada aircraft of the day, we have an Air Canada A220. This guy isn't at the terminal because right now Air Canada isn't flying the A220 into Vancouver, but for all purpose sake, I'm going to say that this guy is arriving from Chicago and is going to be heading over to Edmonton tomorrow. Working our way further down the stand here, we've got a Flair 737 MAX. This guy's headed to Toronto. And beside the Toronto-bound 737 MAX, we have another interesting aircraft at the airport. This is our Alaska Embraer E175. This guy is going to be headed over to Portland. So here's a more zoomed in shot of that Lufthansa CleanTech Flyer A350. And we'll move over here to the Aeromexico. This guy is a 737 MAX 8. This guy's going to be headed over to Mexico City today. And our Lufthansa A350 is going to be headed over to Munich. If we move further down here, we have our Air Canada 787-9. This guy's just arrived from Toronto, and he's going to be heading out to Toronto tomorrow. Beside the Toronto-bound 787, we have an Air Canada A330-300. This guy has just arrived from Montreal. Anyways, guys, well, look at that. We are at the end of the update. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoy the Air Canada Canadian terminal layout. I really like featuring these aircraft. I really like the interesting Canadian airlines like Aeroflyer and Flair right here down at the bottom. But more importantly, I really like the chance to display all of the current aircraft flying in the Air Canada fleet into Vancouver. But anyways, guys, we will keep in touch. I hope you enjoyed the update. Bye for now.